Hello fellow paleo enthusiasts. Today I'm not making a pivot animation because I'm interested in making some fact-based paleontology videos from now on too. However, I'll still do pivot animations whenever I feel like it. Anyways, welcome to a new series of mine called Paleotales. In this series, I will debunk famous theories regarding prehistoric animals that aren't considered to be the case anymore or are considered to be unlikely or even outright absurd. And for this first episode, I have decided to talk about a myth regarding one of the most famous sharks, the Megalodon. This gigantic shark once terrorized the oceans worldwide from the early Miocene until the early Pliocene before going extinct. But what if Megalodon did not go extinct? What if it survived, unnoticed by us, lurking somewhere in the dark waters of the deep sea? I want to answer this question in today's video. But first, for everyone who doesn't know about Megalodon, in which case I'd be surprised, let me explain what Megalodon actually was. What was Megalodon? The Megalodon, whose scientific name is Otodus megalodon, is a species of megatoothed sharks that once swam the seas worldwide from the Aquitanian stage of the early Miocene epoch to the earliest Pliocene stage of the Pliocene epoch. Sorry if I said that wrong. It was formerly considered to have been a lemnid shark, closely related to the extant great white shark. However, it is now thought to have been a member of the shark family Otodontidae, belonging to the genus Otodus. In regards of its ecology, this gigantic shark was probably an apex predator, mainly hunting fairly large prey such as whales, sea turtles or seals. It probably attacked its prey by targeting its prey's chest cavity to puncture its lungs and its heart. While it's often thought that nothing could challenge the great king of the Neogene oceans, this giant killer did actually compete with a group of toothed whales called the macroraptorial sperm whales, such as Brigmophyseder and the giant leviathan, or even with extinct whales of the Orchinus genus, of which the orca is the only extant species. It is now thought that Megalodon went extinct due to the cooling of the seas, as well as a fall of sea levels and a subsequent loss of nursery areas, and also because of the baleen whales declining in diversity, as well as migrating into the area around the polar regions where Megalodon couldn't survive. But what if this giant shark did not actually go extinct? What if it moved to the deep sea, unknown to humanity? And could Megalodon have remained hidden in the oceans for 3.6 million years? Let's find out. When it comes to the assumed survival of Megalodon, there are some arguments you will often hear. For example, much of the oceans are still not completely explored, so we can't be sure what's down there. If coelacanths were thought to be extinct for 65 million years, only to be rediscovered in 1938, why couldn't Megalodon's case be similar? And also, there are the films Megalodon, the Monster Shark Lives, and Megalodon, The New Evidence, as well as the Meg novels. And also, there are many unexplained sightings of giant sharks. The idea that Megalodon is not extinct has been around for a much longer time than you probably think. In 1873, seemingly fresh Megalodon teeth were found during the Challenger expedition, and in 1959 dated to be approximately 11,000 to 24,000 years old. However, those teeth were probably much older than 24,000 years and only appeared fresh because they retained the white color while getting fossilized. As for the argument that the oceans are largely unexplored, yes, the oceans are actually mostly unexplored, especially the dark waters of the deep sea. There are still million species waiting to be discovered. But it's highly unlikely that Megalodon is one of them, as Megalodon preferred coastal, warm waters and couldn't survive in the cold deep sea, with not enough food to keep populations alive. Even if Megalodon tried to adapt to the harsh environment of the deep sea, it would have taken a very long time for it to adapt to this environment. However, no Megalodon teeth were ever found that were younger than 3.6 million years. Also, yes, coelacanths were thought to have been extinct for 65 million years until they were rediscovered in 1938. However, coelacanths are about 1.4 or 1.5 meters long compared to the 20 meters Megalodon could reach. They also hunt much smaller prey than Megalodon did, such as squids or snipe eels. They also are drift swimmers, as opposed to the Megalodon, whose active predatory lifestyle, of course, demanded a lot of food. As for the Meg novels, those were fictional stories and never really made any scientific claims about the Meg's survival. But what about Megalodon the Monster Shark Lives and Megalodon the New Evidence? Megalodon the Monster Shark Lives is a television film that aired on Discovery Channel in 2013. It is presented as a documentary, but it was soon debunked and it was found out that the film was fictional. Consequently, the film was criticized by both viewers and scientists. However, disclaimers were soon added indicating the film was fictional. Thus, none of the so-called evidence shown in the special was real. Its sequel, Megalodon the New Evidence, was also a fictional film presented as a documentary, with none of its evidence actually holding up. But what about the many sightings of large sharks? Most of these sightings are probably hoaxes or misidentifications of other sharks, such as the whale shark. For example, a large shark was caught on camera by Japanese scientists in the deep sea, often claimed to have been shot in the Mariana Trench sometime between 2000 and 2003. However, while it was also identified as a Megalodon, the large creature approaching the bait cage in the video was actually a Pacific sleeper shark. The footage was also not filmed in the Mariana Trench, but was actually filmed in Japan's Suruga Bay. In conclusion, the belief that Megalodon might still be alive in our oceans nowadays is completely wrong, and there also isn't any evidence to back up the idea. Well, this concludes the first episode of Paleotales. Thanks so much for watching. Also, I wanna thank the people whose artworks I used in this video. Link in description. See you all on the next video. Goodbye. Oh, and also, sorry for my accent. I'm not a native English speaker. Have a nice day.